Hello world of YouTube! I figured, since I finally got my YouTube room pretty much set up, I would do a discography review. This will be the first one I've done by myself in a while, so I'm going to try to get myself into the flux of things by doing a band that I not only love, but you see me wear in just about every video. And that band is Rage Against the Machine. Yes, this is a Rage Against the Machine hat. Anyway, for those who do not listen to Rage Against the Machine, they are what a lot of people would call rap rock, but to me, they're more than that, because they also incorporate elements of funk, somewhat jazz with the drums, and of course, you know, the rap and the rock and stuff. The reason why I really like Rage Against the Machine and why I really got into them was their technicality and the fact that they were very different. Like, Tom Morello is one of my favorite guitarists, and he's also one of the most technical, one of the most experimental guitarists out there, and I really dig that. I mean, it's sad that they haven't put anything out in about 10 years, but they have been back together since 2008, and Zach De La Rosa did say this year that it would be most likely, or that Rage Against the Machine would most likely put out a new album soon. So, God, give me this. Give me a new Rage album. Give me something amazing, besides Primus and all the good stuff that you've already given me. They only have 4 albums, so this will not take me long to do. And I might also talk about their side projects while I'm on it. But yeah, why don't we get started? And the first album they released was self-titled, and that was released in 1992. And for them to release an album like this at the time that they did was very brave, because they really didn't sound like anything that was coming out at the time. Like, at the time you had bands like Nirvana that were popular, and they really brought something different to the table, and I'm glad that they did, because, I mean, no offense to Nirvana and grunge music, because I do like grunge music, but this sound was just, it was in need of being brought forth. I mean, because you had the ingredients out there, you know, you had the Aerosmith and Run DMC collab, you had the Anthrax and Public Enemy collab, you know, out there. That sound could be crafted into a band, and they were like, you know what, we're going to do it. And we're going to bring passion behind our, you know, our vocals, our rap. You know, Zach, he's really passionate about what he's rapping about. You know that he really believes in what he's, you know, singing about, rapping about. And it's amazing to hear such passion from a band. Tom's playing isn't as experimental as it is on the later albums. In fact, there's solos in a couple of songs. I know there's one on Fistful of Steel and one on Know Your Enemy. And the Know Your Enemy solo is actually pretty good. Which is something that I'm surprised he drew away from. I mean, I know he wanted to do a lot of the effects, but I mean, the solos were actually, from what I remember on the sound, were really good, and I haven't actually given this album a decent listen in a while, but I still remember so much about it. When you listen to the album the first time, you hear Bomb Track and that bass line, you're just like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then it kicks in, you know, Bomb Track, and it's a great track. I mean, it's only 10 songs, but it seems to go on for a lot longer than 10 songs. I mean, you really get, you know, entrapped in the music, at least I did. And, I mean, like I said, you get a sample of the band. I mean, they have softer songs or slower paced songs, like Settle for Nothing and, you know, songs like that. But then you have the songs like Wake Up, which is like the boom, the big songs, and like Killing in the Name, you know, the big songs. And it just, like I said, the opening is great, Bomb Track, but Freedom, like that groove, and then they just fade it with that noise. They fade with the noise. It's awesome. I love this album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, start to finish, I can listen to it over and over again. Maynard James Keenan from Tool and Perfect Circle fame is on the track Know Your Enemy during the bridge. And to me, it's interesting that those two bands would collab together, because Tool was just starting out in '92 with the Opiate EP, and, you know, this new band, Rage Against the Machine, comes along that really changes the sound, brings a new sound to the mainstream, and Tool was kind of on the process of doing a similar thing, because Tool, to me, is a very different kind of band. I mean, I like Tool, and I like Rage a lot, and it's just interesting to see them at their roots together. My favorite song off the album is Freedom, because I just like, you know, the intensity in it, and I like the way it's structured. And again, I like the way it closes with the noise. If there's anything else I have to say about the album, it's just that I listen to it, just get it, because it's gonna be. it can't cost much. It's like 10 songs, and most music stores charge by the track. So get the album. It's awesome. Again, favorite song is Freedom. And the second album they released was called Evil Empire, and that was released in 1996. And if I were a Rage fan when they first came out, and I had to wait 4 years for the next album, I'd be pretty pissed. But they really do something different with this album. They're more experimental, you know, with Bulls on Parade, the Kill Switch solo, you know, with the opening to Revolver, the way it is, you know, the noise, that weirdness, making a guitar do that. Wow. I commend you, Tom Morello, for being very experimental, you know. Wind Below, the way that opens, is kind of reminiscent to Fistful of Steel, you know. The drums are, they're actually, I didn't talk about the drums when I talked about the first album. That's because they're great, but I mean, the drummer just doesn't really provide a lot of, you know, technicality. I mean, he does some technical stuff, but I mean, he's just for a band like this, he's just pretty much the backbeat, but he does a good job at it. And Tim Comfort, I didn't even talk about the bass in the first album either. The bass is different for Rage Against the Machine in the fact that it's very heard. A lot of music coming out in the 90s, the bass is very toned down, unheard. But Tim was like, no, I'm heard. I'm a bassist who's heard. And he's great. He's a great bassist. And I like the fact that he's, you know, out there. You know, he's not just the backbeat. I mean, the drummer, like I said, he does some technical stuff, but he's just a lot of backbeat. This album is very similar to the first album, in fact, that it has a lot of different types of stuff. Like, it has, you know, that opening of People of the Sun. It's different than Bomb Track, but it's still the similar type of opening where it's like, yeah, this is going to be awesome, and then you listen to it, it's like, oh my god, that's amazing! And the funny thing is that they both open with an amazing track, and then the next track is an even bigger track. Like, the first track of Evil Empire is People of the Sun, which is an amazing opening track, and then it fades into Bulls on Parade, which was a bigger song. Just like on the first album, they opened with Bomb Track, which was a popular song, which was a single, and they fade into Killing in the Name of, which was a more popular song. But the thing with this album is that it is a different type of, it's similar but different, because they venture more into noise and not just music, like on the tracks I aforementioned. And you know, there's some that are still very riff heavy, like Down Rodeo and Bulls on Parade, very riff heavy. You know, they ride the riffs. But I mean, there's a lot less of that on this album, but it's still really great. The closing track here, the Boomerang, it's good, but I mean, it's not as good as Freedom, because I really like Freedom. Zach, I mean, he sounds great. I mean, he changes up his flow a little bit on songs like Wind Below. My favorite song on the album is Down Rodeo, just because I like the riff. I mean, I like their riffs. Tom writes really good riffs. I don't hate the experimentation on this album. I like Revolver. I like, you know, a lot of the songs on here. Tire Me got him a Grammy, too. I just remember that. Tire Me got them a Grammy, which was interesting when I found that out. I was like, Bulls didn't get him a Grammy? Really? Bulls didn't get him a Grammy. It's Bulls. I mean, that song is like, it's Bulls on Parade. I mean, it's a big song by them. I mean, it was made more popular by Guitar Hero, but I mean, it's Bulls on Parade. I mean, that song, you know, you hear it, at least I hear it, and I just want to like, straight up just mosh to rap. You know, moshing to rap does not happen much. But, yeah, my favorite song is Down Rodeo, because it's great. And, it's a good riff song. It's a good riff. I like the riff of Down Rodeo. The third album they released was called Battle of Los Angeles, and that was released in 1999. And this is my favorite Rage Against the Machine album. And a lot of people call it their best album. And that's because when they got to this album, they were at such a climax of their career, at least in the early part of the career, you know. I mean, this album is it's very technical guitar-wise. I mean, the effects are very different. Like, on Sleep Down the Fire, the verses, he just has that one long noise going. And, you know, on songs like Maria and Voice of the Voices, I mean, it's a great album. You know, the bass on Calm Like a Bomb, you hear it. very I mean, Tim gets effects on this album more so than on Evil Empire. That's my favorite Rage song, which is Guerrilla Radio. That's the song that got me into Rage. So I mean, I love Guerrilla Radio. I can't get enough of Guerrilla Radio. Testify. Again, single. It opens with a single, and then it proceeds with a more popular song. I just noticed that about Rage. They love to open with a single and then follow with a more popular song, or what becomes a more popular song. One of the interesting tracks on the album, at least to me, is Mic Check, and that's because it's a lot of bass. Like, hold on, listen to this. It's a lot of bass. Like, the bass is more than the guitar. The guitar is just riff, or just at least notes, and the bass is more of the backbeat, or the bass is more of the forefront, which was interesting when I first heard it, because I listened to the song a lot when I first got this album, and I was surprised by it because it sounded different. I mean, it was Rage, but it sounded different. I mean, this album ventures forth from the original Rage sound even more so than Evil Empire. I mean, you have songs like Maria, which have that, you know, that great riff. Ashes in the Fall. I love this. I love the openings to these songs. I love the guitars, you know. I mean, Born of a Broken Man, Zach sounds very just dark. He sounds very dark in that song. And he sounds innocent but dark, and it sounds great. I mean, that's probably the quietest Zach is on their original material. It's a phenomenal record. My favorite song is obviously Guerrilla Radio, and it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of the 90s. I mean, it was released in 1999, and it came on the tail end of that decade, and it was a hell of an album to come out. It has the weakest closing track, but it's still a phenomenal album. My favorite track is Guerrilla Radio. If you don't have it, I would pick it up. I would definitely pick it up because it's just amazing. It's an amazing album. Just pick it up. And the last album they released to date is called Renegades, and it was released in 2000. And this is a cover album, which I wish they didn't go out on a cover album, but I'm not upset they did because it's really interesting to hear them cover songs because they make them their own, but they make them, like, really their own. Like, they cover a lot of interesting stuff on here. Like, they cover Devo, Bob Dylan, you know, the Rolling Stones, but then they cover stuff that you'd expect them to, like Cypress Hill, Eric B. and Rakim, you know, Africa Bambaataa. I mean, they cover a lot of stuff that you'd expect them to, or at least a few things that you'd expect them to. But to me, the songs that are better are the stuff that I wouldn't expect them to cover, like Maggie's Farm, Ghost of Tom Joad, you know, Street Fighting Man. I mean, it's interesting to hear their own spin on a rock song, because like I said, they are rap and rock, but they incorporate, as they grow as a band, they incorporate more rap than rock, and at this point, they really incorporate rap into their sound and backbeat. The songs sound great. Some of these I haven't heard the originals, like the Rolling Stones song, because I'm not a Stones fan, but that's a good cover, at least if I've ever heard one. If I had to pick a favorite track, probably Kick Out the Jams, because this is a really good cover of Kick Out the Jams. I've heard a couple of other covers, but that's probably my favorite cover of Kick Out the Jams. Out of the rap covers, is probably I'm Housin' or Renegades of Funk, because those two songs are great. But that is Rage Against the Machine. I want to thank my good friend Shake for sending a bunch of subscribers my way from his Shake Pool channel. I will put a link to his channel somewhere on the screen. I'm sure you can guess where. If you look close enough, you can tell that where I'm trying to gesture is in no way correspondent to where the actual page link is gonna be. I don't know, but yeah, go check out both of his channels. They're both funny. The funny stuff. We have a thing that we did together that's gonna be on Shakepool soon. don't know if I should talk about it, but I think he did anyway. But yeah, check out this channel. Thank you, Shake, and that was Rage Against the Machine.